How y'all doing today, folks? Welcome to the Political Goat. I'm your host, Uncle Felix. Today we got a great show for you in store. There's a few topics I want to cover. We're going to, of course, talk about Trump's tax returns, which have been in the news ever since they were released by the New York Times over the weekend. Well, I shouldn't say the tax returns were released, but portions of a tax return were released. I mean, it is the New York Times, so you got to take that with a grain of salt. So we're going to discuss that. We're also going to discuss the upcoming debate, which is at the very least going to be insanely entertaining. I I can't wait to watch this thing, and that's coming on at 9 p.m. So we're going to make sure we get everybody out of here on time to watch that. And I'm also going to bring to you my NFL Power 5 rankings. But before we get into all of that, we're going to cut to a commercial and get that out of the way. And we are back. So before we get into the politics today, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to start with some football as I wait for Chris, the tax guy, who should be joining us again this week. I had him on last week. I usually don't bring on guests back-to-back weeks like that, but last week we discussed some tax policy, and lo and behold, we got nailed with another tax issue from the New York Times. So he will be on with us again today. So let's get into this week's NFL Power 5. And here you go. And there it is, folks. That's my Power 5. I have KC still at number 1. I mean, Mahomes has been simply unbelievable. Hands down the best QB in the NFL. I don't even think it's arguable. It's Mahomes and then everybody else. It's his world, and everybody else is a squirrel trying to get a nut. Again, he had 4 touchdowns, another rushing touchdown made that another 5 touchdowns this week. At number 2, Seattle, another guy who's putting together a great season, Russell Wilson. He had another 5 touchdowns this week. I mean, the offense we're seeing this year has just been insane, even with Green Bay. Green Bay seems to have somebody different stepping up every week. And it'd be interesting to see who comes out of the NFC right now, because my 2 favorites there are Seattle and Green Bay. But Green Bay is legit, that's for sure. At number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills. I know I've been ignoring them for a while, and yes, Richard Hill, you are correct. They do belong. They do belong in the top 5. They have a great defense, and Josh Allen is another one who's putting together a great season very quietly. At number 5, I have my Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll be honest with you, we're 3-0. I'm not too crazy about all the teams we've beaten. Yes, the Texans is a nice win, just because that was a must-win game for the Texans there. And the Texans aren't as bad as their 0-3 start. They played some very good teams. Watson is a great quarterback. So it's a good win for the Steelers, but I want to see them step up and beat better teams. And they're gonna have their shot this week, because I think they play the Titans in Tennessee. So that should be interesting. So those are my top 5 NFL power teams. I'm going to give you my 2 honorable mentions now. And first honorable mention, I'm going to give to Chicago. They're also 3-0, but for some reason, I'm not buying Chicago. You know what I mean? We'll see where they end up in this. I mean, they beat an Atlanta Falcons team that has some serious issues of just crumbling during football games. Um, and my second honorable mention is going to be the New England Patriots. Even though they lost, they're the one team on here with a loss. They did lose to Seattle. Um, well, that was actually the week before. I'm sorry. The Patriots actually they won this week, and they won pretty easily over the Raiders. I thought that was actually going to be a closer game um, than it was, but they looked dominant. And again, the demise of the Patriots has been greatly exaggerated. I believe they are going to have a say in what happens in the AFC. Um, so we will see. We'll keep an eye on the page and see how that goes. And it looks like my man Chris, the tax guy, is here. He's in the back room. I'm going to bring him on in a moment. Um, but first, I'm going to cut to yet another commercial. And while I get Chris ready for you. All right, hold on. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, Uncle Felix.
How's it going?
Not bad. It feels like I was just here last week.
It does feel that way.
Yeah.
It's funny. I got all my football stuff out of the way, and and
Hey,
the commercials out of the way, just because I am very excited to discuss the debates coming up, and also obviously we have more tax issues in the news, and that's why I had to bring you back on.
hey, I caught the best part of it, where you
What's
actually had to give honorable mention to New England Patriots. I know. Listen, I know you threw up in your mouth just a little bit when you said it,
I
just a
did.
little
I
bit.
did. I still feel it right there.
I'm sure you did. And I listen. I apologize for being late. I was channeling my inner Lizzie Lohan, i.e., total diva, kind of a hot mess and not worth the wait. But I'm doing my best to be here, and I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for coming back. So, as you've seen in the news, I'm sure the New York Times have released. I'm not even going to say his tax returns. I guess I can say they released some tax information. Would be the correct way to put it.
Well, they
Um,
released information.
yeah. I mean, it is the New York Times, so you got to take that with a grain of salt. I mean, Trump's already come out and is denying. He says everything that they've put out is false. Time will tell, obviously. Um, but the narrative that's going around, and I know I spoke to you earlier about this today. It's kind of it's intellectually dishonest. You know what I mean with the whole I'm seeing a lot of posts on Twitter and on Facebook. I'm a waitress and I pay more taxes than Donald Trump, or I'm a whatever and I pay more taxes than Donald Trump. And again, it's just, in my opinion, the left, preying on the ignorance of the masses. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest, most people don't know how tax returns work, and so it's a pretty talking point to say, hey, Donald Trump only paid $750 in taxes. So I figured I'd bring on the professional, aka Chris, the tax guy. Let us have it.
Well, all right. So first of all, I think they're great memes. They definitely speak to the Democratic talking points.
Hmm.
Let us go out there and try to make a statement that is like comparing apples and oranges. And they do that a lot with a lot of things. So I'm really not surprised at the spin that they're trying to take on this. And my guess is, honestly, if the New York Times picked it up, I wouldn't be surprised if it was somehow leaked by the Democratic parties because they're hoping that it'll put them on tilt right before the debates.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you noticed too that they were leaked, and then literally an hour or 2 hours later, Biden had a commercial talking about the tax relief.
Yeah.
So
That's the fastest Hollywood's ever done in the COVID era. You know what I mean? They can't film Law and Order SVU season 19, but they can certainly film this, right? Like,
exactly.
yeah, it's very convenient. No, look, I don't know how much weight I put into the actual information itself,
Mm-hmm.
but I will tell you, I'm not entirely surprised, and I think that no one really in the profession would be.
Mm-hmm.
The
No.
reality is that and again, while I think they're great memes and great talking points, when that waitress or that bar tab tender or whatever the hell you want to have out there, when they lose the amount of money that he would have lost on a particular investment,
Mm-hmm.
and they are playing in dollars that big, then they can talk to me about how they pay too much in taxes. And what I'm going to tell them is go hire Mazars because that's what Trump did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, the biggest news out of that is the line out their door. All these taxpayers are going to say, "Can I get the Trump deal?" like, here's the thing. So, Trump's a business guy. Now he's an investor. He's a real estate speculator. He does a lot of different things. And like him, love him, hate him, it really doesn't matter. When it comes to the taxes, you're allowed to offset your gains against your losses. He has his hands in a lot of different pots. Some of them make great rice. Some of them make, whatever the hell they make. Some of them burn hard-boiled eggs. Like some of them just don't pan out.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them stink. Some of them just burn out water. The notion is you're going to have some gains on one side, you're going to have some losses on the other, and they offset on your own consolidated return, your own little individual return. We're not talking about the actual entities themselves, just on his own personal return. The 750 thing is weird, and I'll be honest with you, I'm almost more inclined to say that part is the fiction. I would almost be more inclined to believe that the article was sincere if they had said he paid no taxes in those years. I think that's almost more believable. I don't think I've ever seen a return where the number is rounded at the end by the nearest $25.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a little skeptical to me. But as far as him having losses, it doesn't take much more than like a 5-second Google to find out that he had some serious business losses. I think people even on Facebook have really highlighted that. Oh, is he that big of a businessman? He's bankrupted so many companies. He's filed Chapter 11 100 times. So these are the same people that now come, saying, "Oh, I'm so surprised you paid no taxes." No, this is why he doesn't pay any taxes. He's had some winners and he's had some losers, and all over time he's definitely offset them. One of the things that the Times article pointed out is that he received a refund of $72.9 million or something to that effect. I'm not sure the exact number.
That's nice.
Pretty close to that. To get that much of a refund, he had to have once paid that much in taxes.
Correct.
So yeah, when you start looking at his history, he's definitely offset his gains. He's speculated enough in the real estate market to make that work.
Here's the thing, though. A lot of people don't understand that. Like, I still talk to people today who, when April 15th comes around, they get all excited because I'm going to get a refund. They think it's free money when it's really their own money that they're getting back. Hence the word
interest-free.
Yeah, hence the word refund. What I mean? But
I will tell you, the goal as a tax professional is to advise clients you don't want a refund.
Exactly.
You want to literally have it where you're either paying a check to the government for less than $10 or you're getting a refund of less than $100. Like that's ideal.
Yes.
Because that means that the government did not borrow your money interest-free
exactly
for the year.
Exactly. And it's another classic example of the ignorance of the masses. You know what I mean? Like, we are, as a nation, we are ignorant when it comes to civics. We're ignorant when it comes to taxes. And those are probably the two most important things we should really be paying attention about.
Well, listen, there's a reason why the local chapters of most of the CPA societies, the AICPA, various other financial institutions across America, all take on financial literacy programs. Financial literacy is a big issue in America. It's huge. That's probably the first and foremost issue as far as from an ignorance standpoint. How many times do you see people taking credit cards out beyond their means, spending beyond their means, not understanding a basic budget on how to put that together? These are the same people asking to see tax returns. Tax returns that they wouldn't even know what to do with if they were looking at it and standing on their face. This is absolutely asinine. I asked a few people, I said, all right, so let's say he releases returns. What are you looking for? I'm looking for Russian collusion. Well, yeah, you know, that must be on form 4820. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist, man. You're not going to see that shit on the tax return.
No, and I'll be honest with you, if this is their bombshell, you know, their October surprise, maybe they got something else up their sleeve in regards to the taxes. But if this is what the biggest thing that they come away with the taxes, it's another nothing burger. It's a dud. It's
an optics issue.
Yeah, it's not exactly. Yeah. And you know, I read probably a few weeks ago that Joe Biden, I guess to avoid paying some payroll taxes, he had set up a S corporation to do so, and nobody made us think about that. You know, it was probably, you know, a good business move on his part to save himself, you know, some money.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know. Let's ask Joe. Joe, you set up the S corporation. How did that go? Nothing. All right.
I'll tell you what. S corporations are great, but there is a break-even analysis there. So even if you would have set one up to try to avoid the payroll taxes, you may be subjecting yourself to a higher tax rate currently, depending on where you fall on the spectrum. Taxes are not an easy, he did this, so therefore he was avoiding this.
Mm-hmm.
In the goal of anything, tell me that you want to pay more to the federal government, and I will tell you, you can make a donation to them, they'll be happy to take it. No one wants to pay more than in taxes than they need to, all right? Do you think, oh, shit, you know what? I think the federal government is so efficiently run, I can't wait to make a donation. I love my government spending. So I'm just going to pay more than I need to. Of course not. But the problem is the tax code is so convoluted and complex that A, you need to pay someone like me to figure it out for you, and B, you actually need to you don't want to pay any more than you have.
Exactly.
Especially after you have to pay me.
Exactly.
So, in a nutshell, what you really want to do is minimize that tax liability. Also, no one's going to pay you on taxes if you are losing the kind of money you would have to lose. Going back to some of these returns, and again, I started looking at some of the blogs on some of the professional websites, like tax preparers, and I think I mentioned to you earlier, Going Concern is a great resource. It's like a news periodical blog, if you want to call it that, for tax people and accountants. And they had a list of people's comments, and none of them was surprised at Trump's tax returns. Like, they're all kind of assuming it anyway.
Yeah,
like the only thing you have is like train wreck curiosity is to see how much he actually took a bath on some of these investments. But it's a laughing factor. He literally is, and here's the best part: he's not going to pay any more taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why. So backing up, one of his biggest things, he invested into the Taj Mahal. He tried to set up some of these Atlantic City casinos. During around 2008, 2009, he started closing some of those doors. Well, what happened in the economy during that time? The real estate market bubble boomed.
Boom, it popped.
Sure. It popped out, right? The economy went into a massive recession. The government was bailing out banks that were too big to fail. Yeah, he took a bath, just like anyone else that was speculating in that market industry at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a surprise that he lost money. He shuttered the doors. A couple of years later, he was starting to turn things around. Irene hit. A hurricane that devastated the entire waterfront area.
That's right.
A marina. I mean, listen, you can't make these fact patterns up. He suffered a ton of losses. He had to take a nosedive on this.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could say, well, he had too much leverage debt and everything. All the business decisions that went into it, he still actually walked away pretty well. Turned over the investment to the Icon Industries, or the Icon Industries, or we want to call it that. They ended up having to pay him a 10% investment for his naming rights,
mm-hmm.
which has no issue to it. He was still getting a revenue stream from basically a dying bad investment. They ended up flipping it over and selling it to Hard Rock for $50 million. When Trump built it, it was worth 1.5 or 1.2 billion dollars that he put into it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about the waitress's salaries and whether or not she made $100 in tips or she made $500 in tips. We're talking $1.2 billion investment. Yeah, man, when that works sour, he's not going to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, look at the current situation. We talk about COVID. We talk about his response to COVID. This is a guy whose only livelihood that is still making money is in the hospitality industry. He's working in hotels. He's got some investments in residential real estate. He can't evict people for not paying because most of the states have put a moratorium on eviction. In fact, some of the orders that he actually signed together wouldn't allow for that. You have the fact that the market itself has put a hit on tourism industry as a whole, especially in the hospitality sector. That's his bread and butter. If you think he's losing money or making money this year, hell no. But he's still not taking a dime from the federal government. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a guy who's losing his shirt. He's lost already, $500 million in total net worth since he took over the presidency.
Yes.
And now this year from COVID, he's looking at losing more. And people are going to criticize the fact that he didn't pay taxes. Meanwhile, you got everyone else that are in office. They're in public service for 40 some odd years, making pittance compared to what you should have made in the private sector. And they're walking away billionaires. How the hell is that possible? Why don't we pay tax returns when they leave office?
It shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Like you see these people in office for X amount of years making under $200,000 a year, and all of a sudden the net worth is $100 million. How it doesn't add up.
Look, here's the thing. I want to see where Russian collusion does fall on his tax return. Can we see Hunter Biden's returns? I want to see where the $3.5 billion payment that he received from the Russian oligarchs came in. I want to see how he reported that in his tax returns. Do you think it was reported there?
No. I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
Oh, yeah. It was an accident. They meant to put Rosemont and they put Hunter Biden instead. That makes sense. It was clearly a clerical issue. Meanwhile, all the rest of the payments actually made it to the right place.
Exactly. Hey, I'm going to switch up gears on you now. All right. Now, something very important was on the internet today, and it had a lot of people baffled. I don't know. I'm not sure if you've seen it yet. Did you get to see this picture here? Do you see that, Chris?
I do see it.
What do you see? Do you see a dog or a clown?
I'm not going to sugarcoat this because I'm not sure how. I see Joe Biden as the face of a dog's ass.
Close, but no cigar. Well, anyway, this picture here was baffling everybody because some people saw a clown, some people saw a dog. When I first saw it, I saw a clown. I couldn't see a dog at all. You know,
Where do you see the clown?
Really? I could see the body of the dog, but I'm like, the face is clearly a clown. What's going on there? So of course,
it looks like a teenage boy that hasn't cut his hair. It looks like it has a faux hawk.
Oh, so you do see that part, right? You don't see like the makeup around what looks like to be the makeup around the mouth and the nose.
Well, I honestly, I don't see a clown because I don't see the clown nose. I don't see the clown wig. I don't see the collar.
No. Do you see the dog?
I do see the dog.
Yeah.
And then I see, like I said, it looks like a young Joe Biden's face superimposed on the dog's asshole.
Uncle Felix is here. Uncle Felix is here to settle this and help people out because I had people on my Facebook page who just couldn't see it. So here you go. See, when you actually find the dog's nose, with the red marker, you see the dog, and then I circled the nose of what I thought was like the clown's nose on the other way. But very interesting stuff.
No, it is. I can see why that would attract everyone's attention away from the important shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now on to the presidential debates. What do you think is going to happen tonight? Any predictions?
All right, so I think Biden is going to say some gaffy shit. I think Trump is going to be creepy. Pretty much across the board.
Yeah.
And I think moderators may quit news media altogether at the end of it. That's my guess.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of it, as long as Joe Biden is standing, they're going to, the news media will declare him a winner. but I don't know. I just don't see him functioning normally for an hour and a half. I mean, the rumors are he was asking to have two breaks after each half hour segment, um, and Trump refused. I know Trump was asking, or he wanted a third party
You
to check.
want a drug test?
Yeah, well, he wanted the drug test, which I thought was hilarious. But he also wanted to check his ears for an earpiece, and I know the Biden camp refused that too.
Yeah,
So
for good reason. Listen, you know, I don't want to say that he's because listen, knowing that sometimes older folks have some issues,
mhm.
and I mean this with the utmost sincerity. I think Joe has lost it.
I do too, and I don't say that with any joy. You know,
No, no,
and
I feel bad for him. I
I
really
do
do.
too, and I have a mother who is 84, and she has Alzheimer's, and it's not a fun thing to watch somebody go through.
No,
And you know, so again, I don't take any pleasure in saying it, but clearly his fastball is not there anymore, and
no.
that's putting it nicely. You know, I mean, the guy is one gaff after another. Um, they're closing off
Constantly.
they're closing off contacts with media every day now for the past week, like at 10 a.m., which
Yeah.
tells me that they're probably trying to get him, ready for tonight. So it's at the very least, this thing's going to be entertaining. And the thing
Now,
is, the
Felix,
bar is set so low for Biden. All he has to do is finish, and the media is
yeah.
going to praise his performance.
Well, even his gaffes aren't going to be commented about after tonight. Like, other than a few Facebook memes that some conservatives are going to throw together,
Hmm.
no one's really going to talk about it because, again, the Democratic Party is pretty much owns the media anyway. But you know, in a nutshell, when you're going to have and my guess is if Trump can get him off tilt a little bit, just get him off the teleprompter, get him
Yeah,
off the canned answer, throw him some stuff that maybe he didn't expect,
yeah,
which Trump is good at.
that's the thing that supposedly there's no teleprompter, right? You're not supposed to have an earpiece on. Um, they did give them the topics, which I understand of what they're going to cover.
It's
So I'm
normal, I
sure.
think.
So I'm sure they've rehearsed that part. But we all know from seeing Trump in the past, he can go off subject, off topic. So he can definitely throw Biden off. How Biden's going to handle that is that's what everybody's waiting to see. That's why I'm going to have my popcorn ready.
Yeah, well, that's it. I actually think that all these watching events or like like live streaming watch events
Hmm.
should be done as a drinking game. Like, no, I think it would be fun. Like every time Trump says huge,
Oh yeah, or Bigley,
or
or China.
or you're gonna love it. Um, every time that happens, you take a shot, and every time Joe Biden has a gaffe, whether it be a bu- 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 bu-
Yeah,
anytime that he has an off-putting situation, you take another shot.
yeah. I don't know if I have that much liquor in my house.
Good point. Good point. Can't
Well,
promote alcoholism on a live broadcast.
what I'm wondering is, will he bring up corn pop? Because corn pop was a bad dude.
Well, I won't even say corn pops should be right up Joe Biden's alley. It was properly segregated from the colored pops. And we already know that Joe Biden did not like desegregation.
No, no. Poor
Oh, by
Joe.
the way, I mean, meaning to ask you, are you voting? Are you voting for Biden?
No.
So, wait a minute. Are you black?
According to Joe Biden, I am not that guy.
Look, luckily, I'm not either. You know, either. So I
Oh,
guess we're in the same boat.
which reminds me, you're over there in Arizona, battleground state. How's it looking over there?
All right, so it's weird because in my neighborhood, in my community, you see a few liberal-minded people, but the majority of the people, if I were to start knocking door to door, every other person I talk to is either has a Trump Pence sign outside or is just generally leaning Republican and conservative. You know, the second most dominant religion in the area is Mormon. Typically, the Mormon faith produces a lot of conservative beliefs, albeit maybe a little weird, but they're definitely conservatives, except for Mitt Romney. But you know, the thing is, in that's the reality is that there's a lot of conservatism here. And when you're not looking at the Mormons, you're looking at the conservative or evangelical Christians. There's a lot of proponent here. So there's a lot of religious component here, which is definitely leans more conservative. On top of that, I think even the non-religious component is very fiscally conservative, more in my camp, where we're not really religious fundamentals, but it's more conservative from a fiscal and a constitutional policy. And I think what you don't see with the religious component, you see on the fiscal and the constitutional considerations. It's very conservative that way. So, you know, I think overall, it's hard for me to imagine a situation where Trump would lose Arizona. Because of what I'm experiencing in my kind of demographic. That said, you go to the inner city in Phoenix and components there, as well as some of the kind of the outskirts of what's called the West Valley, or even down in Tucson, which is like the kind of a liberal bastion, which I still think we should give back from the Gadsden Purchase, and that'll fix that problem. I mean, if we just sell it back to Mexico, I think it'll solve the equation. Because that would be kind of cutting off entirely Tucson and the rest, and go back to Mexico, and that's fine. I'm good with that. But if you even incorporating that, it seems weird for me. I find it hard pressed that Trump would not win. I don't think anyone's polling the entirety of the state.
Yeah, I mean the poll numbers, they are what they are. I mean in 2016 they had Trump losing everything.
Yeah, and now it's pulled up close according to a couple of the polls. What?
Yeah, exactly. Which tells me he's doing a lot better than what the polls say anyway. Like the way good rule of thumb for me, I always add about 7 or 8 points to Trump's numbers when they play.
I think we're going to lose a senator.
Oh yeah, huh?
I do. Here's the thing. So, all that aside, I think the McCain supporting Arizona, which Arizona loves McCain, at least to some extent. A lot of that support is now shifted towards Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly has a history. He was an astronaut. He was served in time of war. He's a local hero. His wife was the Democratic House or senator that congresswoman that got shot. I mean, he's got a lot going for as far as publicity standpoint. He's looked at as an American hero. It's really hard for people to look the other way. He had some bad business dealings. His attack ads are a little weird. But for some reason, nobody likes Martha McSally. That's why she lost in Tucson against Kristen Sinema. It's why she's going to lose again. Unfortunately, no one just likes her. I can't really put my finger on it. I've only been here about a year and months. But it just the general pulse, nobody likes her.
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully we can keep the majority anyway. God forbid we lose that White House. That would be our only hope to.
Well, I'd be more concerned about this McSally vote, and the reason I say that is because the way that the rules are, because she was appointed by the governor to fill McCain's seat when he passed away.
Yep.
If another person is rightfully elected, under Arizona law, they can install him in as the senator right after the vote. If that's the case, and they try to get if they wait at all on the Supreme Court nomination, if they wait until after the vote, but before the actual installation of the president to make the election, they may lose a senatorial vote because of Martha McSally loses to
Yeah, I believe we would still be safe, but obviously you don't want to deal with that headache. And I
because
think
we already lost what the Republican senator out of Maine and I think
Maine
it's
and
one other.
there's another
So if we
one.
lose McSally, then
Hmm.
that's a 50-50. That's not going to carry the majority.
Yeah, but then the vice president comes in and he can lay down the deciding vote.
I don't know. Do you think he's going to go with the?
Well, but yeah, so it should be fun. So you're gonna be watching the debates tonight?
I'll be watching. Listen, if nothing else, it'll give me a reason to drink.
Yeah.
I
Well,
I, I, I want to turn into a drinking game. I really think it'll be fun. I'll be the only one drinking because I'm old now, and that's my level of drinking is sitting on the couch and having a drink by myself.
yeah, yeah. The the days of the party excursion are far behind us, I guess.
A long, long way away. I will say I do remember celebrating. Your viewers are going to hate me after this, but I do remember celebrating and taking shots after the Obama victory.
Proud, yeah. You know what? Yeah. Well, I voted for Obama in
Yes.
2008.
All right, so you and I both. Okay.
Yeah, I voted for Obama in 2000 because that's right around the time where I started paying attention to politics a little bit,
Hmm.
and so I assumed because back then I was black according to Joe Biden, so so I assumed I was supposed to vote Democrat, and I did, and
Yes.
then as I was paying attention and seeing what he was doing, I'm like, wait a minute, this guy is not really making much sense. He doesn't have any of the same values that I have. I don't like this guy, and that's when I discovered I was actually a conservative. Go figure.
Yeah. No, and honestly, listen, to this day, if you go back and listen to Obama's speech at the DNC 4 years prior to his
Mhm.
candidacy, and you even listen to half of his speeches while he was president,
Well, yeah,
the guy can speak. He can sell you a whole lot of shit, man. I'm buying.
he delivered a great
He can
speech.
deliver.
I remember that speech at the DNC. It was a great speech. It was actually a unifying speech, and he came across
Yeah,
as moderate. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That was his thing. He sold himself as a moderate, and then when he got in there, he was far from that.
Hmm.
But hey, Chris, thanks for coming on. I'm gonna go get ready to watch this debate. You enjoy your drinks. I will enjoy mine. And salute.
Salute. Hey, thanks for having me on, Felix.
Not a problem.
Hey, take it easy, brother.
See ya. Well, that was my brother from another mother, Chris the tax guy. Thanks. Let's thank him again for coming on and explaining to us exactly what's going on with that New York Times tax story, which is nonsense. Again, it's intellectually dishonest. But I'm sure the Democrats are going to run with it as much as they can. With that being said, enjoy the debates tonight. Um, have fun watching them because I think they're going to be more entertaining than anything. And keep your eye on Joe Biden. Um, again, thanks for watching. God bless.